I started writing way before I was raped when my grandmother died. She was more like my mother, and it did help me a lot to fight with the grief that I felt, and it helps me in so many different ways. If I'm confused, if I just don't know what to do in my life, writing everything down, every thought, just helped me to go through the day and make decisions, really. Word rape makes me fear of my own and other people's lives. It makes me angry at the same time.
It gives me an internal panic, and it is triggering. It is a triggering word for me, but at the same time, I don't want to shy away from using it.
Discomfort and disgust and pain and just bad memories, I suppose.
I was at my friend's house party, and at that time, I was still living in suburbs, so if I wanted to meet my friends, I needed someone to drive me to the place and drive me back home. And one of my friends promised to take me out of the party and bring me home. So I went to the place, train station, where he's supposed to pick me up. And I was waiting there, it was cold, I was with black dress. And two men were walking by, and they started calling me baby. They started touching my hips, and so I swore I told them to fuck off and go away, and that was a mistake. They hit me in my face. They were dragging me through the street to their car. I had bruises all over my knees and hands, and my lip was bleeding as well. The next thing I remember is just cold gun in my mouth and them ripping my clothes off, laughing from my body, telling me to do things and saying how disgusted they are by the way I look, touching me and saying, oh, this part is too skinny, you look like this. You're just disgusting, you're nothing, you're trash, you're my toy. Then leaving me hanging on the street and cold, they just left me like nothing, like rubbish. Just left me on the street where there's no one. All it took is 20 minutes and it changed my life. Next thing I remember is just being in the shower and crying my heart out for hours, trying to wash my dirty skin out, and thinking that if I go to sleep, I would rather not wake up, or just gonna wake up and it was a dream, it never happened, it wasn't real, it can't be real. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel.
I was raped by someone I knew very well, who was actually a married man, after I had been on a night out, gone to a usual group of friends, had a few drinks. We'd carried on back to their place, and rather than going home, I decided it was easier to crash at theirs and then go home in the morning. Unfortunately, to my absolute horror, I woke up being raped by this person while I still had friends and an ex-boyfriend in the other room, and his wife. And it was one of the most traumatic and
awful experiences I've ever had.
I didn't actually go to the police until a few days later when he started messaging me.
And like sort of an apology, but sort of not an apology, and sort of keep it quiet, and then really started harassing me in all sorts of forms of social media. And actually, after having a bit of a breakdown at work, so I carried on going to work for a few days afterwards, just trying to get on with it, trying to carry on as normal. There was just like one thing, and I had an absolute meltdown, and we just got stuck in the toilets at work having a meltdown, and one of my colleagues then, came with me to the police after that.
I think the worst part of that whole experience was the exam, the medical exam you go through, because you're completely traumatised.
It's only a few days after you've had it, and you've got strangers looking at your most intimate areas, sticking instruments in, I just remember just going through a really crazy range of emotions that I don't recognise in myself. And then the next step after you've reported, if they feel they've got enough evidence straight away to go and arrest the person, they do, and they did with him. I gave them my phone with all the messages on it, everything. Although the arrest was very quick, it took them over a year to charge him and to get all that paperwork together, which was traumatic in itself, because this guy was walking around on bail. I was really struggling with depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder this whole time. One of the really bad points about the way that the legal system in this country works is that to be a witness, a reliable witness on the stand, they don't want you to be tampered with. They don't want your memory to be in any way affected by any psychotherapy that you might have. So they advise you not to have any until after the trial. The thing is, that left me waiting for 2 years, and my court case got pushed back 3 times. So I was denied the mental health care that I desperately needed all that time. Unfortunately, the court case on technicality got dropped 3 days before I was due to take the stand. I appealed it, and it failed a few weeks later. The whole case had fringed on whether this guy had a condition, a theoretical condition that makes you rape people in your sleep, which isn't actually it's not a medical condition. They'd managed to work this out based on very flimsy evidence, and they put him through a sleep clinic and he didn't pass it. So they were like, there's nothing wrong with you. And then based on a 20-minute interview with a specialist that his mum had connections with, I found out, they managed to say, oh, but he might possibly do it. So then the prosecution medical expert had to say, well, yes, it's possible, but it's, it doesn't exist. I might add through all of this that I went to sleep by myself, in a bed by myself, fully clothed, having never ever had anything to do or being remotely attracted to or anything that could be misconstrued as that ever with this guy who was asleep in a different room. So unless that weird sleep break condition involves getting up and walking over and undressing someone, which I don't believe it does, my case got thrown out for absolutely no reason. And they also said in the statement that there was absolutely no doubt, they didn't doubt my story at all. And that it isn't, they didn't doubt my credibility as a witness, but that didn't count. The whole thing, the whole thing became about whether he had this illness, whether he had an excuse to rape someone or not.
I was raped by a family member whom I considered to be an older brother, in a place that I knew very well. So it was definitely a big shock when this happened. The worst part of being a rape survivor in my particular case, I think, was the loss of a lot of people in my family that I grew up with my whole life, and dealing with the fact that a lot of people didn't simply choose to not believe me, but simply chose to not have a conversation with me about what had happened, and they just disappeared from my life. So realizing that people I'd grown up with, that I'd trusted with everything, that were my life, just evaporated. I think that was the most painful part, for sure. there's a lot of processing of shame, guilt, questioning that comes through. So just to own the word, I have been raped, I am a rape survivor, just to be able to say that and own it takes a lot of work. In my case, it took a lot of therapy and quite a few years to be able to get to that point. So first of all, it's not an easy statement to reach. Secondly, I think that when someone does come out, there's such a huge fear of not being believed, and of so many people saying, oh, but what was she wearing, or was she drinking? There's just not enough of society that is supportive of someone that comes forward. And it comes attached with also a lot of judgment, I think. I think that a lot of people can, silently judge, and sometimes quite overtly judge. At the moment you open your mouth, people are going to question what you're saying. It becomes a bundle of shame and disgust, difficulty just looking at your body when you're taking a shower, because it's suddenly been tainted and it's become something that it wasn't before. The thing is that through my project, I've been able to meet different kinds of survivors, whether it be gang rape or childhood sexual abuse, or being drugged at a party, or by a boyfriend, etc. Some of these cases, in my mind, were very black and white. I was like, this is very clearly not your fault. But no, even in the situations that I consider to be impossibly black and white, every survivor has questioned, but what if I hadn't been walking there? But what if I've taken the other street? But what if I wasn't at that party? What if I was wearing something different? What if I was not drinking that day? Why did I decide to go out that particular day? There never seems to be a moment where a rape survivor actually says, no, this wasn't my fault at all, which is really what we should all be saying. There's just always too many questions in our head.
If you don't talk about it, nothing is ever going to change. You need to educate people while they're still kids. Small kids are the ones that are our future.
Not all boys grow up being rapists, we know that, but they all do grow up in a society that teaches them that they have importance over women, and that they are privileged, that they've been born with this privilege.
We need to stop addressing rapists as something that's completely foreign and incomprehensible. These are fathers, grandfathers, well-educated CEOs, rich, poor. It's people that we might actually respect a lot in society. It's people that we might love. They might be friends of ours. The notion of the rapist is not someone that is far away that can't be comprehended. These aren't all psychopaths. These are regular human beings that, due to opportunity or a bad decision or whatever has happened, they have gone down this route.
As humans, our inability to believe that someone that we know and love and trust could be capable of doing something like that. People just don't want to believe that it happens.
We have it in politics, we have it in entertainment, we have it in families, we have it absolutely everywhere. But there's still a lot of people that defend it. No, it was just a joke. Oh, he didn't mean anything by it. We subdue it. So we don't want to get to the level where we actually admit how prevalent it is.
I was 17 when I was raped.
I was 27 when my attack took place.
I was 23 when I was raped.
You can decide to turn that anger and that fire that you have into a fuel to really propel yourself into something.
Sometimes you just need to let yourself listen to other people and hear these words that everything is going to be all right. You just need to wake up and keep doing what you're doing until one day you wake up and realize that it is gonna be all right. There's always another day and another chance to make yourself feel better. You just need to keep going. There's always something beautiful in every day, and you need to let yourself experience it and see how it slowly heals you every day, every moment.
Respect yourself and trust your gut and trust how you're feeling. Listen to your body and be kind to yourself. This takes time.
You will come to terms with it, and you will be able to accept that it is something that happened to you, but it doesn't define you.
And you will be able to get through it. You'll be able to grow from this experience. There is a certain strengths that you can draw from living through trauma.
I know it's hard, but just try to enjoy every single moment of your life. Just open the windows, let the lights in, and you might wake up and see everything in different colors. Yeah.